We've always had to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to making money. That's just something Ryan and I have always known, like we need to piece together this living and we have to somehow be self-employed with our life because there are so many variables and unexpected occurrences that happen all the time. You know, for instance, like Luke ended up in ICU for about 6 weeks last year and we had to kind of drop everything.
You have a big family, you have to make some of those sacrifices anyway, but with Luke, it just changes everything. If he's sick or he has an appointment at the neurologist, or I can't call in sick, I can't call into the boss and say, hey, I didn't know this, but I'm gonna be in ICU for the next 6 weeks. You know, it's just not an option. So to be able to work for myself was something I always wanted to do, and this made it an absolute. Like it wasn't really a choice. There aren't that many forgiving bosses that can say you can take 6 weeks off and then come back when you feel like it, or when you're available again. It's not gonna happen.
So many workplaces and policymakers are not sure about the burden that many caregivers have, and that's because they're often ignored in conversations, policies are made without them, and also caregivers are also suffering in silence. So a lot of this work goes behind the scenes at home, and so that often is left out of conversations in the workplace. And I think it's important for us to bridge that gap in policy and ensure that we're talking about what caregivers are struggling through when we're making policies like paid family and medical leave or caregiver discrimination. So that way, the policies are not just made, but they're also effective in ensuring that workers, not just women, but men as well, can take the time off they need when their family members are going through a crisis.
I left my corporate job. My background is in IT, but I had to leave my job just because the demand for Janelle's needs were getting a little bit extreme. And I had to choose what was more important, me working or her development, and I chose her development.
Taking care of kids is a full-time job, but when you have children with special needs, it becomes even more full-time because, you don't have those, after-school resources or before-school resources that are provided to many other children, in order for you to be able to hold a job. So as a parent caregiver, I feel unseen in the employment workforce. It's really been difficult.
Just between managing their appointments and meetings and checkups and therapies, there's just no way that I could work outside the home without losing my job. So I'm very lucky to be able to work from home part-time with a flexible schedule, because otherwise there would be no way for me to keep a full-time job. And I think this is the reality for a lot of families that have children with additional needs. One parent usually has to give up their career to manage everything that comes with that. So that's one of the biggest ways I think our lives have changed.
When we talk about who is handling the care for their families or for sick loved ones, elder care and child care, that does majorly fall on women. So women are disproportionately leaving the workforce and being negatively affected by this crisis of care. You really have no choice at all, when you're having to choose between your paycheck or spending time and caring for your loved one. And that really does leave a lot of families on the line in terms of economic security. Now, if they are caring for a loved one that has a disability, the Americans with Disabilities Act does cover them in terms of facing discrimination, but there's not an explicit right to receiving reasonable accommodations to care for your loved one that has a disability. And this could include time off, this could include flexible scheduling, or even a minor accommodation like working from home. Many caregivers love their job. They just want to be able to ask for accommodations and receive the time off they need so that they can care for their families as well.